Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Happy Camper Radio Show, episode 139. My name is Skip. My job is to make a happy camper out of you. And whoa, I'll tell you folks, I had to go catch a second wind here for some of you who have been wondering where I have been for the past couple weeks. You know, just like anything, sometimes you just have to step away and take a break. But I'm so glad to be back in the seat again, back at the controls, got my headphones in place, the microphone is in the right position, and I'm ready to bring you another exciting episode of the Happy Camper Radio Show. Our phone number here is 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've made it so convenient for you to reach out to us. Go to www.happycamperradio.com and look for all of our social media icons over on the right-hand side of the page. Click on any one of them, and you'll be able to connect up with us. Browse around, take the studio tour, see what we have to offer. There's plenty of camping tips there for you to enjoy and to consider anytime that you go on a camping trip. It's www.happycamperradio.com. Let's head on over here to the shout-out window and say hello to some new folks who have signed on. First of all, to Bradley Norton of Fuquay Varina, North Carolina. He likes us on Facebook. To Mike and Regina of Travelpreneur. Chris and G Travel, they're both full-time campers, following us on Twitter this week. Alicia McIntyre of Walkerton, Ontario, Canada, added us to Circles on Google+. And I want to take a moment here to say hello to the fine folks over at the glamping.com community on Google+. They invited me to be a part of their group, and I'm looking for the opportunity to chat with them folks every now and then from time to time. Thank you all so very much for joining us. We're glad to have you on board. And most important of all, thank you for being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Would you like to be a guest on the program? I would love to have you as a guest. Get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Anything in the world of camping you want to talk about, that new camping piece of camping gear that you bought, you want to talk about that, maybe one of those fantastic trips you were on, camping with the family, wow. Anything is open for discussion. Get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, and we'll make that happen. For some of you regular followers to the program who tune into us each and every week, you probably have been wondering what I've been up to these past couple weeks. Just like anything, sometimes you've got to step away and take a break. Doing Happy Camper Radio up to 139 episodes now over the past 3 years. In addition to that, starting a voiceover profession, I live in the studio. I spend a lot of time here and pretty much away from anything else that I have been wanting to do for quite some time. There just comes a time when every now and then you've got to step back and smell the roses and the coffee. And I had to do that here a couple weeks ago. I just started focusing on some interests that I have neglected for quite a long time. And I just set the headphones down for a little bit and locked up the studio and started working on some projects that I have been meaning to get started on. One of which I'm going to be talking about here, as well as social media over the next couple weeks. If you want to get a hint as to what I've been doing, check out some of the latest pictures that I have posted on Facebook, and you'll see exactly what I mean. But I'm rested up now. I'm glad to get back in the studio. I had some opportunity to sit down and plan my camping trips for 2016 and some ideas of where I would like to go and what I would like to do. And I've got some great show ideas that I've been working on as well. So it's going to be an interesting year, 2016, for Happy Camper Radio. And again, if you'd like to be on the program, get in touch with me. I love having the opportunity of talking with our listeners. If not, just drop me an email. I try to answer all my emails as quickly as I possibly can. It may take a day or two every now and then, depending upon what I've got going. But I always make it a point to answer each and every one of the emails that our listener sends to us. Did you get an opportunity to check out Super Bowl 50? I'll tell you this. I enjoyed that game. It was an awesome game between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. Some people, I want to say most people, I think, who go camping are also sports fans. And over the past couple years, I really became fascinated with camping and football. Not that I really enjoy sitting down on a Saturday or a Sunday and watching each and every game, but somebody here at the house really got me into football. And she has her favorite teams as well. She likes the Florida Gators as well as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give you an idea of what part of the country she's from. But she's got me hooked on football, and I try to sit down every now and then and watch a game. But the Super Bowl, for some reason, really has me fascinated, and I think it's because of all the excitement, all the hype, and everything that leads up to it. One of the things I started taking interest in over the past couple years was camping and football, especially some of the campgrounds that are in close proximity to the Super Bowl. Now, this year's Super Bowl was held in California, and I went online to check out some of the campgrounds that were hosting Super Bowl parties, and sure enough, there were some in the area. And I'm sure just like those who were watching the game at the stadium or in their homes, there were campers at the campgrounds watching the big game, and a lot of them were at the edge of their seat. I believe there were like a total of 8 KOA campgrounds across the country that were hosting Super Bowl parties this year, one of which was about an hour and a half away from the big venue. And I went online just to double check and see exactly what they were doing. And sure enough, they had a Super Bowl party. And some of these Super Bowl parties were held in recreation halls right there on the campground premise. Some campers, I'm sure, had parties right at their campsite. Have you seen some of the latest motorhomes that are out there on the market? Wow. I know they're quite expensive, and I have seen them at some of the campgrounds because some people do own them, and they have these huge flat panel TVs that are on the exterior of their rig. And I'm sure it gets tucked away and put away somewhere safe and sound anytime that they're traveling. But when they're at the campground, out comes that TV set. And I have no doubt in my mind there were some campers taking in the big game. I like those, and I'll tell you why, because they're great for inviting fellow campers over to watch the game. Have you ever been to a public or a private campground and not made new friends? I try to make friends each and every place I go, and I know this much: if I had one of those big motorhomes, I would have every camper in the area over to watch the big game if I were camping during a Super Bowl. Lots of food, lots of drink, lots of fun for everybody. Now, in the case of California here, for example, no doubt there were some campers at some of these campgrounds that were hosting Super Bowl parties that also had tickets to the big game. I know the one last year, I believe that one was held out in Arizona. I could be mistaken. I'm getting a little old here, so I have a tendency to forget every now and then. But I remember about a week ahead of time making some phone calls to some of the campgrounds in the area of Super Bowl 49. And I wanted to have an interview with the campground owner or campground manager, whatever the case may be. And a lot of these folks wanted to talk to me. But so many people started showing up ahead of time before the big game. They were camping out. The campground was full, and that in turn had management doing each and every little detail there was, and they did not have even a second to catch their second win, let alone sit down and talk to me on the phone for a couple minutes. But I know here in the Atlanta area, we had 2 Super Bowls already with the new Georgia Dome Stadium. And I say new, of course, that stadium was built about 20 years ago, and I watched that stadium built from the ground up. Atlanta has a new stadium under construction. It's going to be the new home of the Atlanta Falcons, and it's supposed to be completed sometime in 2017. In fact, I think for the season opener of 2017, it's the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And check out some of the pictures on Google Images. Go do a search on Google Photos, and you'll see the construction process in place. It is going to be an awesome, awesome venue. I don't know if I'm ever going to make it down there. In fact, it's being built right now next to the current Georgia Dome Stadium. But when they built the Georgia Dome Stadium, they hosted 2 Super Bowls. And again, one was in 1994 and the other was in 2000. I had the opportunity back when I worked law enforcement in those days to work in a Super Bowl related capacity. Now, I did not work at the stadium, but I worked at some of the big hotels downtown where a lot of the fans who were going to the big game were staying. And the Super Bowl festivity was just as exciting down there as I'm sure it was inside the stadium. And Atlanta, now I understand, is bidding for Super Bowls in the years 2019 and 2020. And I have no doubt in my mind that they will get at least one, if not both, of those Super Bowls. Now, why am I telling you this? Because we have campgrounds here in the area. And, of course, they're within driving distance to where I live. You know and I know from time to time, I take my remote gear out on the road. I would absolutely love to spend a week at a campground in front of a Super Bowl being held here in Atlanta, and on the day of the big game, doing a live stream of the Happy Camper radio show from one of the campgrounds in this area. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. It's something I'm working on right now. I'm going to put some ideas down on paper, and if we get lucky enough here in the metro Atlanta area to win one of the 2 Super Bowls, either 2019 or 2020, you know for sure I'm going to have my reservations in at a nearby campground somewhere, and I'm going to be bringing the Happy Camper radio show on a live stream from that location. It is so exciting, and it's something I'm going to look forward to. Now, again, not that I'm a really big football fan. I like the hype. I like the energy and everything that goes along with it. But I think that will be an awesome, awesome opportunity to bring a radio show out to a public or private campground. All right, folks, on today's show, I've rattled on enough about that. Family pets. Let's talk about this for a moment. I am really touched by the idea that in today's day and age, we have more and more campgrounds that are becoming very pet-friendly. I can't recall any time in my life that I have been camping that I did not see either morning, afternoon, or evening somebody walking their fine furry friend and taking him out on a stroll and passing by the campground. And as you know and I know, if you're sitting there at a campground and you see someone walking by, it's just common courtesy to say, hey, and they say hi back. And you get to make friends with some of these people. I've camped next to people who had their pets along with them. I think it's great. And again, you know, most campgrounds today are very pet friendly. And seems to be campers are really acceptable to this too. You'll find also that many campers are well-rounded individuals, and they're real responsible pet owners too. If you go to a public or a private campground, you know and I know there are a set of rules usually in place, and of course there's going to be written rules in regards to pets and campers who bring their pets for a stay at that particular campground. Not that anybody is into violating the rules, but I think most of these are just common sense rules that people are going to abide by anyway. If you have a dog or a cat and you bring them to the campground, you know as a responsible pet owner, it's going to be up to you to look after your pets. That means taking them out for a walk, making sure that you clean up after their business so nobody else has to step in it. And, there are some times, too, that you're going to have a pet camping somewhere next to you. And have you ever had a problem with barking dogs? I can't say I have ever had them. I know I've heard dogs barking occasionally from time to time at a campground, but it was not an annoying bark. And it was not something that occurred at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning where it's going to wake fellow campers up. I think, pets being a part of the family and responsible pet owners, everyone is going to do their part to make sure that their campsite is as comfortable and entertaining as it possibly can be for themselves, and they are going to be just as courteous to anybody that is camping around them. Now, let's talk about camping with cats. Have you ever seen a pet cat at a campground? I can't say I have. In all the years I have been camping, and I'm sure there are pet cats there, and most likely they're going to be confined inside of an RV, a motorhome, a fifth wheel, or a truck camper, and they're really not going to get out. Most pet cats are confined to the indoors. I know this for a fact because I have pet cats at the house, in addition to 2 dogs. It's one of the reasons why I am not a full-time camper. You hear me talk about it at the end of the program all the time, how important it is to adopt a pet, and every pet deserves a loving home, no doubt about it. But I have done my part, and I have my fair share of pets that I consider family. I can say that cats don't adopt very well, or should I say don't adapt very well outside of their normal environment. They stress out very easily. And what I simply do when I go camping, and I try to get away as often as I possibly can, and I'm sure as my retirement years approach, I'll probably be getting out a little bit more. But if you often wonder, what do I do with my pets while I'm away? I have a designated pet sitter here at the house who knows exactly what to do. Cats, for the most part, are very independent animals. Yeah, they're going to miss you. They'll probably be sleeping in your bed while you're gone and be just as excited, maybe not as excited as a dog would be when you return home. But they are very comfortable within their regular setting. To take them out of that setting is most likely going to stress them out. Of course, some cats do adopt very well outside of the home. And some of these cats may be in one of those motorhomes that are parked nearby you, and you just never know it. I have never seen a person walking a pet cat on a leash, and I'm sure it's been done, but it never around me and never at a campground that I have been to. But yeah, I'm confident my pets are going to be very well looked after anytime that I go camping. And I know that they're going to be fed, they're going to be taken care of. The telephone number to my local veterinarian is going to be on hand just in case there may be an emergency, and I always have plenty of food available for them while I am gone. Camping with dogs, on the other hand, it's a totally different story. Dogs are much more manageable on a camping trip than, say, a cat would be. Dogs seem to be more a part of the family than cats, but not in all cases. And I really even shouldn't say that because I love my dogs just as much as I do my cats. But yet, one of the things I have never seen at a campground, and I have yet to see or have an encounter with a vicious dog, and I don't think anybody who goes camping would even consider bringing a watchdog or a dog that does not get along with other people to the campground. Because when you go to these camping environments, you're going to have young families, you're going to have kids, and if a kid sees a pet, you know the kid's going to want to come up and pet it in a lot of cases. And you don't want to have a dog that is going to be unattended and uncared for at your campsite that, may not be too used to children. So most of the dogs that I have seen have been very loving, very well taken care of, and they just fit right into the camping environment. And dogs, I'll say this also, pretty much adapt on any ride, either short or long distance. You definitely want to make sure you keep your dogs hydrated. You want to have some water there in the vehicle, if you can keep it still without splashing it all over the place. And you're going to want to have snacks for the dog just like you would your kids. And, of course, take advantage, too, of those road trips and those restroom breaks along the way. Those are so very important, too, because the dogs, just like your kids and just like your better half, is going to need to go and use the facility every now and then. And at those facilities, when you take your dog out on a leash, you want to make sure that you let them do their business in a place where other people may not be walking. So you definitely keep that in mind anytime. And I can't even recall a time, like I say, when I've been camping, that there was an issue with a barking dog. Yes, nobody wants to be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning by a dog who may have heard something come by, maybe a deer running through the woods, or maybe they're outside and looking, and all of a sudden they see two eyes glowing in the dark and gets them all excited. Those things can happen. But I can't recall a time ever being awakened in the middle of a night by a pet who was barking. So I am very comfortable with pets at the campground, and as long as the pet owner is a responsible pet owner, then hey, we're fine with that. And I think most campers will be fine with it also. In some cases, people will be boarding their pets as opposed to bringing them to the campsite. I know some people who do this. I can tell you I wouldn't personally do it with any of my pets, especially the cats. Again, like I say, because they get very stressed out anytime that they come out of their normal environments. Dogs, on the other hand, are a different story. I'm sure some people take their dogs to the kennel. I know our vet has a boarding service available right there, and they're taking care of each and every day while somebody is gone. Of course, they have to get their Bordetella shots and everything that they need before they'll even consider taking them in and boarding them. But, for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable about that. Maybe the dog would. If you take them there and there are other pets that they're going to be around, they probably won't even notice you gone for the first couple days. But then on the other hand, I don't want to put myself in the situation of a pet. You're dropping them off and they're wondering whether or not you're ever going to come back for them. You never know what's going to be going through a pet's mind. And I just could not separate myself from my pet by dropping them off at a kennel or some other place. When they're here at home, that's a totally different story. It's part of their regular surrounding, and they know that, I'm going to be returning. Just like when I go to work, they know sometime in the morning I'm going to be back, and that's each and every day. If you go on a camping trip for a couple days, sure, you're probably going to be coming back, and they know this. So, keeping your pets at home, if you can do that, making sure they're very well taken care of is the bottom line. What I don't like are some people who disappear for a couple days on vacation. And I know there are some folks who do this, but they leave their pet cats at home with plenty of litter, plenty of food, plenty of water, and nobody there to take care of them. Pets need attention, just like dogs need attention. Dogs are more work than cats are because cats, like I said, are very independent. And I've owned both over the years, and I'm very experienced with pets and understanding how they work and how they feel. So, it's never, ever, ever a good idea to keep your pet at home while you're out having fun, even if it's just for a few short days, because your pet's going to need attention, and that quiet household can get very quiet. Some pets have anxiety. And have you ever heard of a pet being left for a very extended period of time, and next thing you know, they're chewing things up? Dogs have been known to do this. They chew up the furniture, they claw up the furniture, they tear apart mattresses and pillows, and that's part of an anxiety that they may have. I think they call that separation anxiety. And some pets do experience this. It's very important as a pet owner, and if you're a responsible pet owner, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have a responsibility to look after that pet day in and day out. It's part of the family. They're part of they're your children. Let's face the facts. Okay? So if you're a responsible pet owner, then I guess I'm preaching to the choir. But if you're going to go camping and you're going to be taking your pet with you, especially your dog, make sure that you take all the safety precautions you possibly can. And I've got a couple safety tips here for you that I want you to consider. First of all, make sure that you have your pet checked out by a vet before any long-distance trip, especially if you haven't taken your pet on a long-distance ride before. Make sure they're up for the trip itself. Make sure you also get them in for a regular routine visit. Get them their physical, get them their shots, their vaccination. Make sure their vaccinations are up to date and that you do have a vaccination tag on their collar. Always make sure that your pet is kept on a leash and kept in eyesight, in close proximity, wherever you go, whatever you do. Don't ever venture away from your campsite and leave your pet unattended. I think that goes without saying. Never allow them to run freely. And by all means, folks, and here's something I really and truly believe in, get your pet microchipped. It's a very small investment. I think it only costs something like $25, but it can be a lifesaver. And I read from time to time when a pet has ventured away from home and may have been gone for 5 or 6 days, maybe even longer, and next thing you know, somebody picks up the animal and takes them to a local vet or an animal shelter and comes to find out that they're microchipped. So many pets have been returned home to their rightful owner because the owner took the time to care and do the right thing and get their pet microchipped. You definitely want to have this precaution in place, especially if you are camping away from home at a very long distance. Nobody ever wants to venture away from home on a camping trip or wherever, taking their pets with them, only to have their pets suddenly disappear, accidentally get away from them, or something happen where they become separated from their family. It can happen. It has happened before. Get your pet microchipped if there's any possibility of getting your pet returned to you. That's how it's going to happen. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Yep. Year-round camping, I love those campgrounds, and I found one here for you this week out in the state of Mississippi. It's the Davis Lake Campground. Beautiful location. Davis Lake Recreation Area is home to beautiful Davis Lake Campground and day use area. It's very popular for all kinds of recreational activities, including swimming, which you may not want to do this time of year, fishing, boating, birding, wildlife viewing. The surrounding scenic forests make Davis Lake a picturesque place to spend quality time in the great outdoors. Davis Lake covers 200 acres and provides multiple recreational opportunities. The grassy swimming beach is situated on the shore, where many anglers cast for largemouth bass, hybrid striped bass, crappie, catfish, and bream. The campground has 14 sites on the lake, many of them with space to anchor a boat. A lot of activities and amenities can be found right there on their website. Check them out. Beach access, like we say, birding, boating, campfire rings, fishing, grills, water skiing in the summertime, of course, picnic shelters, parking, lantern posts, and a whole lot more. Make sure you check out the Know Before You Go items. Additional fees are required for day use parking and use of the boat ramp. Pets are not allowed on the beach. For additional information, they have an area for you to click on here to the Tom Bigby District of the National Forest of Mississippi. Also remember, folks, don't move firewood. Purchase all your firewood locally. Save your forest from those pesky little tree-killing insects, and they're everywhere. Buy your firewood locally. Burn it locally. This is a great place to consider if you want to go camping any time of the year. And by the way, folks, if you haven't already signed up for a free recreation.gov account, you'll find it when you click on this link in the upper right-hand corner. There's a little gray box, sign in or sign up. Go ahead and do that, and it makes your reservation process go a whole lot easier anytime you book at a recreation.gov campsite. Anyway, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to go camping any time of the year. And if you're looking for one of those locations that you can get away to, consider Davis Lake Campground in Mississippi. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And of course, folks, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, and don't forget to include a link to the campground website. Well, folks, that's about going to wrap things up for me for episode 139 of the Happy Camper Radio Show, and it's so good to get back behind the microphone again. Hey, folks, don't forget, every pet deserves a loving home. You've heard me say it before. Do like I did. Visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. You can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip, I am a happy camper, and no question about it, my friends, I'm going to do my very best to make a happy camper out of you. We'll catch you next weekend. Have a good one, everybody. This is Happy Camper Radio.